I'm not going to bury the lead on this one. In the late 1950s, the CIA paid to create a pornographic film featuring a man wearing a full-face mask to impersonate the president of Indonesia. Before we can fully understand these wild events, first we must learn about the man himself. The man who would one day become the first president of Indonesia was born on June 6, 1901, in what was then the Dutch East Indies. Named Kusnasaro when he was born, he was renamed as Sukarno after a series of illnesses in childhood nearly killed him. As he grew up, he became very charismatic, outgoing, and supremely self-confident. After getting his degree in civil engineering at the age of 26, he discovered his true passion for politics. He gave impassioned speeches decrying the ruling Dutch government and spreading the desire for an independent Indonesia. This of course landed him in hot water with the colonial government, leading to him getting a 2-year jail sentence in 1929 and being exiled from the country in 1933. Even in his exile, he continued to spread his message and gather support from anyone he could. When the Japanese invaded the Dutch East Indies in 1942, Sukarno saw them as liberators, both for his country and himself, and he returned back home. Upon his arrival, he was appointed as the chief advisor and propagandist for the Japanese, and to quote Britannica, the recruiter for laborers, soldiers, and prostitutes. As the collapse of the Japanese war effort became apparent, Sukarno took full control of the government. After a slight detour of being kidnapped and intimidated by youth activists, which is somehow just a footnote in this story, Sukarno declared Indonesia an independent nation on August 17, 1945. He rallied the population of Indonesia against the Dutch colonial government, and although the Dutch gave 2 half-hearted attempts to reclaim the archipelago, they formally relinquished control of the islands to him in 1949. Although Sukarno's government had communist allies, he was never completely on the side of communism nor of capitalism. Sukarno preferred to build ties with both competing superpowers. This was a great way to secure large amounts of foreign investment, but it was also a spectacular way to piss off both the Soviets and the Americans, with both groups starting to plot to overthrow his government. While the CIA's knee-jerk reaction was to airdrop a metric shitload of American freedom into Indonesia in the form of stacks of guns and ammo, this was deemed too risky. An armed revolution could backfire and end up pushing Sukarno into the arms of the Soviets. The CIA instead decided to spend today's equivalent of $11 million to sway the Indonesian elections away from the communist parties. But even with all of their money and support, the communists ended up gaining even more seats in parliament. With the guns blazing and election rigging options out the window, the CIA had officially reached the end of their playbook and they had to start getting more creative. Sukarno, being a devout Muslim, had taken on 4 wives, as is the legal maximum in Indonesia. However, this was not enough for his prodigious sexual appetite. He took on an unofficial 5th wife, and he was known to have many affairs with other women. He once bragged to a US diplomat that he required sex every single day, and even demanded that his host supply him with a list of prostitutes he could solicit every time he visited DC. Accounts of his alleged affairs with numerous flight attendants were published in newspapers all over the globe, but the CIA latched onto one particularly sticky rumor. The rumor was that Sukarno had been seduced by a blonde Soviet spy posing as a stewardess, and that she was blackmailing him to do the Soviets' bidding. The CIA decided that if these rumors were already spreading by word of mouth, they might be able to stir up even more discontent if they were able to somehow release a video of this incident to the Indonesian public. As Los Angeles had a large Asian population, the CIA tasked the LA Chief of Police with collecting and scrutinizing all of the Asian and white interracial pornography he could find, and try and find one that could reasonably pass as Sukarno and his Russian stewardess. As Sukarno was a short, dark-skinned, bald man, and the rumored Soviet woman was blonde and white, they failed to find a film that could reasonably be passed on as the real thing, so they decided that they would just have to create their own. But just as they were unable to find a film with a Sukarno look-alike, they were also unable to find a male actor who could pass for him. The CIA was forced into the only logical path forward. They made a full-face mask of Sukarno and sent it to LA, where the chief of police would pay to create a film with the male actor wearing the mask. The record gets pretty hazy from here, but allegedly the film was produced by Robert Mayhew, a former FBI agent and an associate of Howard Hughes. The film was titled Happy Days in the CIA's reports, and agents were tasked with scrutinizing it. They determined that even with all of their effort, the film still did not appear as a genuine film of Sukarno. Supposedly, some still frames of the film were taken to Indonesia and shown to the public, where they did not get the reaction that the CIA was expecting. Sukarno did not try to hide his proclivities at all. If anything, he flaunted them. He was the presidential version of Hugh Hefner in Indonesia, so rather than bringing shame to his people, if the film was released, he would have loved it. If the CIA would have just sat down and had a chat with the Soviets, they could have figured this out a lot sooner. The rumors that the CIA had heard about the KGB spy stewardess were actually completely true. When Sukarno had visited Moscow in 1960, the KGB had set up a honeypot trap, sending a whole group of beautiful spies posing as flight attendants to his hotel room. The KGB had hidden cameras all throughout the hotel room and filmed Sukarno having sex with these women. The Russians confronted the president with this footage and attempted to use it to blackmail him, but it backfired spectacularly. Apparently, Sukarno was overjoyed that someone had got a video of the event, and he even asked the Soviets for a fucking copy for himself. He wanted to show the video to everyone and brag about it, so the Soviet film was completely useless to them. Sukarno continued to be the outspoken, philandering president of Indonesia until he was eventually overthrown in a bloody coup by one of his generals. Both the KGB and the CIA had spent piles of money and had accomplished next to nothing. The only thing they had to show for it was that the police chief of the second largest city in the US got to produce a porno, and the Soviets planned an elaborate orgy for a president. If this isn't the perfect analogy for the madness of the Cold War, then I don't know what is.